Today's programme is about banking. Walk along an English high street and you will recognise some of these names. Lloyds, Barclays Bank, NatWest, the Midland, the TSB, that's the Trustee Savings Bank. You will hear about the functions of banks and the services they offer. Setting up a bank account is easy with the help of a personal banker.
A joint account.
What is the best way to save your money? You will hear about some of the possibilities. A bank statement keeps you or your business informed of your financial position. We take a closer look. And Troubleshooter might lend some money to this business.
Good morning, Troubleshooter.
But is it really a good idea?
You're late.
In the heart of the City of London, the financial and commercial centre of Britain, is the Bank of England. Nearby, in Broad Street, the British Bankers Association has its headquarters. Brian Capon is the manager of press and information.
The British Bankers Association was founded in 1919. We represent over 300 banks in the City of London. That may sound a lot, but there are 500 banks in total in the city. Banks make their living, that is, they earn their living through lending money on which they gain interest, and then by charging customers for the services that the bank provides. Banks are there to safeguard people's money, to allow transfers to be made around the banking system between different companies and people. It is there to assist with foreign trade, to allow companies to operate here and abroad, and it is there to lend money to individuals and companies to make their businesses and their own personal finances work. Banks oil the wheels of commerce. They allow it to happen. So they allow the manufacturer to make the goods, they allow the retailer to sell them, and they allow the shopper to buy those goods. But banks do a lot more than that nowadays. They provide a whole range of financial services. Instead of just the normal banking accounts, they now provide mortgages, they provide pensions, they provide health insurance. In fact, they do pretty well everything that affects your normal everyday life.
Let's take a closer look at some of that. First, some facts. How many banks are there in the City of London? And how many are represented by the British Bankers Association?
We represent over 300 banks in the City of London. That may sound a lot, but there are 500 banks in total in the city.
There are 500 banks in the City of London, and the British Bankers Association represents over 300 of them. Next, language forms expressing purpose, and the vocabulary connected with banks and their functions.
To safeguard people's money.
Banks are there to safeguard people's money.
To allow transfers to be made around the banking system.
Banks are there to allow transfers to be made.
To assist with foreign trade.
To assist with foreign trade.
To lend money to individuals and companies.
To lend money to individuals and companies. And next, how do banks earn their living? Explaining how, and some more vocabulary.
Banks make their living, that is, they earn their living through lending money on which they gain interest.
Banks earn their living through lending money on which they gain interest.
Then by charging customers for the services that the bank provides.
Banks earn their living by charging customers for their services. And finally, wordplay. Listen to this expression.
Banks oil the wheels of commerce.
Banks oil the wheels of commerce. They help to keep business moving round and round. Barclays Bank is one of the largest of the United Kingdom's major banks. There are branches in the high streets of most cities and towns. Steve White is an operations manager.
This is the main branch in the town. It's one of 3 branches in the town. We offer a range of services. Most customers hold a current account for their day-to-day banking needs. They receive a chequebook and a paying-in book and a multi-purpose cheque card. They can deposit money and withdraw money over the counter. Customers can use cash dispensers. The lady sitting at the desk in the corner is a personal banker. The personal bankers are there to give advice, answer queries and so on.
She called in, I spoke to her, it would have been last week now.
What about Wednesday? Oh.
The lady wearing the black jacket is our mortgage advisor. She is there to give advice on taking out mortgages.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. How are you today?
Hello, Claire. I'm not very happy at the moment.
Claire Wasmuth is a business advisor with the bank.
See what we can do for you. What seems to be the problem?
Well, I've received this letter saying that you bounced a cheque on one of my clients, and it's caused me a bit of embarrassment.
This business customer has had one of his cheques returned. In other words, the bank refused to honour the cheque.
Right. What seems to have happened is that a standing order has gone out of your account the day before this cheque came through. It was for £300. Does that ring a bell with you at all, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I didn't realise.
One of Claire's roles is to help customers who are setting up a new business.
When a customer is setting up a new business or wants to expand their existing business, they might ask the bank to lend them money. When a customer applies for a loan, the bank would ask them for lots of information, and this would normally come in the form of a business plan. The business plan is then used by the bank to see whether the customer has actually thought through the proposition that they're going into. We would then look at the business plan and decide for ourselves whether or not we think the business will be a success. We would also ask the customer to put a stake into the business. So in other words, we would ask them to put some of their own money towards it, and this then shows their commitment to make it work. Before the bank agrees to lend the money, it needs to be sure that the customer is creditworthy. That means, will he or she pay back the loan? Sometimes we ask for security with a loan. This might be the person's house, for example. The security is then used as a safeguard so that if anything went wrong with the business, the bank would still get its money back.
Let's focus in on some of that. First, some vocabulary.
They can deposit money and withdraw money using this counter service.
When you pay money into a bank, you deposit it. When you take money out, you withdraw it.
Customers can use cash dispensers.
Customers can use the cash dispensers.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. How are you today?
Next,
Hello, Claire.
focus on language forms, time clauses, and some more vocabulary.
When a customer is setting up a new business or wants to expand their existing business, they might ask the bank to lend them money. What I'm going to do is if I just have a look at your
When a
account,
customer
you can see
is
what
setting
is-
up a new business, they might ask the bank to lend them money.
Before the bank agrees to lend the money, it needs to be sure that the customer is creditworthy.
Before the bank agrees to lend the money, it needs to be sure that the customer is creditworthy. And what is creditworthy? More vocabulary.
That means, will he or she pay back the loan?
Will he or she pay back the loan?
Sometimes we ask for security with a loan. This might be the person's house, for example. Yes, you're absolutely right, Mr.
Sometimes the bank asks for security. In other words, a guarantee.
You could then check what was going to.
Another language form. When Steve White wants to indicate a person, he uses a relative clause, but without the relative pronoun. Listen.
The lady sitting at the desk in the corner is a personal banker.
The lady sitting at the desk in the corner is a personal banker.
The lady wearing the black jacket is a mortgage advisor.
What about Wednesday?
The lady wearing the black jacket is a mortgage advisor.
Yep.
And finally, wordplay. Nobody likes it if their cheque is returned. It can cause embarrassment.
Well, I've received this letter saying that you bounced a cheque on one of my clients.
You bounced a cheque on one of my clients. Bounced, like a ball, when it bounces back to you.
Does that ring a bell with you at all?
Does that ring any bells with you?
But you know what it is.
Yes.
This couple want to open a joint account. They have come to talk to a personal banker.
We'd like to open up a joint account.
I see. Do you have an account with us at the moment?
I do, but he has his account with another bank.
So you want to close that account and open a joint account here. Is that it?
Yes, that's right. A current account.
No problem.
Do you pay interest on a current account?
Yes, we do, but it's not much.
Something's better than nothing. We'd like to pay our monthly bills. Gas, electricity.
That's no problem. You can pay that by direct debit.
I think that's about all.
Hang on a sec.
But Paul hasn't finished yet. Let's listen to some of that again. First, some vocabulary. What kind of account do they want to
So how can
open?
I help you?
We'd like to open up a joint account.
They'd like to open a joint account. That's an account in both their names. An
I do,
account
but
that they
he has his
share.
account with another bank.
Next, Paul has a question about interest.
Do you pay interest on a current account?
Do you pay interest on a current account? And next, they want to pay their gas and electricity bills each month.
We'd like to pay our monthly bills. Gas, electricity.
That's no problem. We can pay that by direct debit.
They can pay by direct debit.
We'll think about it.
Direct debit means it is paid automatically from their bank account. Is that all?
Hang on a sec.
No, there are more questions to come. Hang on a sec. It's an expression you often use on the telephone.
I think that's
He could
about
also
all.
say,
Hold on a minute.
hold on a minute.
What about your charges? How much are the bank charges?
As long as the account stays in credit, there are no charges. But if you do overdraw, then the bank does charge.
So there's nothing to pay at all unless we go into the red.
That's right.
Perhaps we should open a deposit account at the same time.
That would make sense. You'll get a better rate of interest on your savings.
Okay.
We can offer you other services, a personal loan for a car. We also do travel insurance for your holidays. And we also offer mortgages if you wanted to buy a house.
That's enough for the time being.
We'll think about it. We've got enough on our plate for the moment.
Fine, if we'd just like to complete the forms.
What about your charges? How much are the bank charges?
He wants to know what he will have to pay to the bank. There's more vocabulary here. As long as the account stays in credit, there are no charges. In credit means you have money in your account.
But if you do overdraw, then the bank does charge.
But if you do overdraw, in other words, if you take out more money than you have, if you have an overdraft, then the bank does charge. And some wordplay. Another way to say you have an overdraft.
So there's nothing to pay at all unless we go into the red.
That's right.
Go into the red. In the old days, the figures on your statement were written in black as long as you were in credit. But if you had an overdraft, they were written in red. She suggests opening a second account. What kind of account? And what is it for?
Perhaps we should open a deposit account at the same time.
A deposit account for their savings. And a final wordplay. The advisor offers them other services, but they are not interested.
We've got enough on our plate for the moment.
We've got enough on our plate for the moment. Pat Daniels is a working married woman with 2 grown-up daughters. She lives in Chatham, one of the towns on the River Medway. Pat was born and grew up in Kent. Money was important to her from an early age.
Well, I can remember as a little girl getting pocket money, but it was about 6p a week. It gradually went up to a shilling, and then to half a crown, which is 2 and 6, all in old money. And occasionally I had an aunt come to see me who used to give me pocket money as well whenever she left. And I used to save that up, but I only ever spent it on sweets and a few toys. It wasn't very much, and I never saved any of it. The other thing I used to do was, my parents still joke about it now, I used to try to get as much as I could for my money. So I'd never go into a sweet shop and buy something for 3p. It was always something, 4 for a penny. So I'd come out with lots, and I think I'm still a bit like that today. When I was a little bit older, when I was getting a little bit more pocket money, I didn't spend it all on sweets, and I did open a post office savings account. And that gives you a small deposit, which is tax-free. So Christmas presents and birthday presents used to go in here as well. And that built up to some money that I used to be able to spend on holidays and for Christmas presents for people. When my own children started to get pocket money, we encouraged them to open post office savings accounts because as children they don't have to pay tax on post office savings account, and they put money into that. And again, that used to pay for any treats that they wanted to save up for or to buy Christmas or birthday presents. As they got older and they earned a little bit more money through pocket money or chores that they did, they both opened a post office investment account, and that gave a little bit more interest. When my children became teenagers, they opened bank accounts, and with a bank account you get a bank statement and you get a cash card, and this enables you to get money out of the machine. At the age of 16 they got a chequebook, but they weren't able to get a cheque guarantee card until the age of 18. So once the teenagers had opened, my children had opened a bank account, we were then able to pay their pocket money direct into the bank account, and any clothes allowance that we wanted to let them have went straight into their bank account. And then they were able to go shopping themselves, draw money from the machine, and use their chequebook when they became 18. When I first got a job, I used to spend all my money. Every penny I earned, I spent. I used to spend it on clothes, going to the cinema, just generally enjoying myself, entertaining myself. I never gave a thought to saving any money at all. In my day, I didn't open a bank account. Any money I had left over at the end of the week, I used to go out and spend. And as far as pensions are concerned, I never even gave that a thought. It was just a word not in my vocabulary. Didn't even think about the future. But of course, today, children have to budget and have to think about the future because it's so uncertain. Many people save with the Building Society, and you get a book like this. The interest is paid net of tax. That means they take the tax off the interest before they pay it to you. Since the 1980s in Britain, the government have encouraged people to save by introducing tax-free savings schemes. There are special names for these schemes. One is called TESA, and it's tax-exempt special savings account. And there are special conditions attached to these accounts. One of the conditions is that you have to leave your money in there for 5 years, at least. Then there's a PEP, P-E-P. That stands for Personal Equity Plan. Equity means stocks and shares, and this allows you to invest in stocks and shares without paying tax on the interest. One of the things my husband and I had to consider once we had 2 daughters was the possibility of paying out for weddings. And in fact, my eldest daughter got married last year, but fortunately, we opened a savings account which enabled us to pay for the wedding.
Sophia's hairdressing salon has a business bank account. Sophia also has a personal bank account. And every month she receives a statement from the bank. The statement is confidential. That means it is not for the public to see. At the top of the page, on the left, is the name of the account holder, the account number, and the name and telephone number of the branch. On the right, you can find the dates that the statement covers, the starting balance, and the balance at the end. The overdraft limit is the amount of money that the bank has agreed to lend in the form of an overdraft. The account holder may not need to draw on this facility, but she can if she wants. Then come the transactions, the payments that have been made to you or by you. First, payments made by you, money out. The statement shows how each payment was made, by card purchase, by direct debit, or by standing order. Next, payments made to you, money in. You can see 2 payments have been made here. At the bottom of the page, you can see the bank's charges. Different banks have different styles for setting out their charges, but the basic items of information are always much the same.
$420, $440, $460, $480, £500. This is a very significant day for Troubleshooter. As you may have realised, my business has been somewhat undercapitalised. I have been strapped for cash, as they say. But today, my mother has made me a considerable loan, and at last, my business is on a firm financial footing. Good morning, Troubleshooter Headquarters. How can I help you? Who's calling, please?
Good morning. My name is Sophia. I'm calling from Sophia's salon.
Hold the line. Beep, 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 beep. Good morning, Troubleshooter. How can I help you?
Good morning. Yes, I'd like to ask some advice about lending and borrowing, please.
Does she want to lend money or borrow money? Does she know what she's talking about? I ask myself. Certainly, dear lady. Carry on.
Well, I'd like to expand my business. I was hoping you might be able to give me some advice.
Well, of course I can. Certainly. I'll be with you in 6.5 minutes' time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Good morning, Troubleshooter.
You're late.
Oh, I do apologise. I was stuck in traffic. You were talking about expansion.
Yes, I want to expand my business. I want to incorporate a beauty salon, you know, pedicures, manicures, waxing, electrolysis, that sort of thing, sunbed treatments. And I also want to run a training course. More and more women are working these days. They want to look their absolute best. Look, would you mind not touching everything? Thanks.
Sorry.
The reason I asked you here is because I wanted to inquire about a loan.
A loan? Now that sounds more interesting. A loan? And how would you pay the money back?
Well, I could pay it back in instalments over 3 or 4 years. But what interest rate would I have to pay?
Well, my dear young lady, it depends where you go for the loan. Banks are very helpful when the going is good, but as my old professor used to say...
The trouble with banks is that they lend you an umbrella when the sun's shining, and they want it back when it rains.
There's no need to patronise me.
As if I would, my dear young lady. Now, I have received a substantial loan from my dear, sweet mother, and I am prepared to invest this loan in your expanding business.
Really?
Yes, and what is more, I can offer you a very, very preferential rate of interest.
Well, that's a very generous offer. Amazingly generous. Are you sure there are no strings attached? No catch? No special conditions?
No. There's no catch, no special conditions, not even any small print. Now, all I ask is to be allowed to become involved with the business. Perhaps I could groom a few ladies, switch on the sunbeds, maybe wax a few legs.
I really don't...
And I have detected a lady over there is even now waiting for attention. Oh. Don't worry, my dear young lady. I am a professional. Good.
Oh, hello, Irene. Are you here for your 3 o'clock appointment?
Never mind that. What's he doing here? No! Just try and shape it a bit for you.
Well, actually, he's just offered to lend me a very large sum of money in order to expand my business.
What?
And at a very low interest rate.
Did he now?
He said he got the money from his mother.
What?
Frankly, she must be as stupid as he is.
Mother?
But the way he's going now, he'll ruin my business. He'll drive all my customers away.
You're quite right, my dear. Quite right. But if I were you, I'd borrow money from a bank. Boy!
That's all on banking for today. There's more vocabulary and grammar and exercises in your student's book. In the next programme, we visit an advertising agency. Join us there.